I always wonder whether we, as a collective planet, narrowly go our own way and ignore what could be unraveling out there.
Maybe we're just eternal optimists. Look, Hezbollah, Iran, Israel, the United States, we've all said that we don't want a wider war. But let's remember that we're facing a major war in Europe for the first time since the Second World War. And that has had significant implications for the global economy. And yet, we're dealing with the fact that the Houthis have disrupted trade in the Red Sea and caused insurance rates to go up quite significantly. But the global economy is absorbing all of those mini shocks. I wonder whether the big shock is out there on the horizon.
After high-ranking members of the terror groups Hamas and Hezbollah are killed in Lebanon and Iran. Today, the leader of Hezbollah is warning the conflict with Israel has entered a, quote, new phase.
Well, Hamas and Iran have both vowed revenge on Israel, which has so far refused to confirm that it carried out the attack. All this has heightened anxiety about a wider regional conflict in the Middle East and ceasefire talks to stop the war in Gaza.
President Biden announcing more U.S. forces will deploy to the Middle East, preparing for the possibility of an Iranian strike against Israel that officials fear could include an attack on American forces in the region.
In the Middle East, Hamas has called for a day of furious rage to mark the funeral in the Qatari capital, Doha, of its political leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Iran on Wednesday.
I think we could very possibly see that Iran will want to do something different. It will want to signal very clearly that this is a response of a different order because of the nature of what happened at 2 a.m. on Wednesday morning in Tehran, in the heart of the Iranian capital, when Israel, as is widely believed, was able to assassinate not just an Iranian ally, but the political head of Hamas, who only hours before had been meeting the Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who, of course, the day after then was saying funeral prayers over his casket in Tehran. So I think the Iranians will want to do something that looks and feels different. I think there is every possibility that they will try to engage their regional allies. We've already had Hezbollah promising revenge. We've had Hamas promising revenge. The Houthis on a week-to-week basis are anyway carrying out attacks on international shipping going through the Red Sea.
In an exclusive interview with Fox Business, former President Donald Trump weighed in on the Middle East.
I'm very strong for Israel. Israel loves me. But you know, a lot of the Arab states like me too, because you know what they want to see? They want to see peace.
Meantime, President Biden has vowed to use his remaining months in office to end the Israel-Hamas war and bring the hostages home.
There's an impending conflict, something that could be quite worse, that's out there on the near horizon, because there are no more red lines in the Middle East, and all the sides are using munitions of increasingly sophisticated violence, and it runs the risk of a miscalculation. Israel took out 3 key leaders, 2 leaders of Hamas and 1 from Hezbollah, and they're seeking to restore deterrence, but it risks creating a cycle of escalation. Russia, of course, is exporting their oil, but it reduced prices to India and to China. But I would just say, Neil, the world is right now, I would argue, facing more critical threats, we are in the United States, to our national security than ever before. And it might not be reflected in the markets today, but it could be in the coming days and weeks.
You know, the irony, and you and I have discussed this before, is the markets by and large have ignored all these scary developments dating back to the October 7th attacks themselves. And I'm always amazed by that, because not that I would say it would be another Arab-Israeli 1973 war, but it could have been, and it still could be, to your point. And yet it's not reflected in that. I always wonder whether we, as a collective planet, narrowly go our own way and ignore what could be unraveling out there.